My name is Paul Oliver, and this is the extended run auxiliary fuel kit for the Predator 9500. My kits come with everything you need except for the fuel tank itself. The reason I don't include a fuel tank is because a lot of people are going to want different size fuel tanks. One person will want a 6-gallon tank, the other person's going to want a 60-gallon tank. At any rate, my kits come with everything you're going to need, including a fitting to screw into the fuel tank. So you'll get your fuel tank locally and get everything else from me. If you're going to be using the generator off of its own tank, you don't need to do anything but follow the instructions in the owner's manual. With my kit installed, everything works stock if you're using the stock tank. If you would like to use the remote tank, the procedure is very straightforward and simple. Take the hose that's included in the kit. You'll notice that there is an arrow on the fuel hose pointing in the direction of fuel flow. So you'll snap one end of the hose to the fuel tank. The other end of the hose will be snapped to the generator. Now, as I discussed in the installation instructions on this one, I mount the fuel inlet port right above the fuel or the recoil start housing because I want it to be flush instead of sticking out. As I discussed in the install video, if you want another fitting like this and you want to install it up on top, that's fine, just call me and I'll swap this out. You cannot put this kind of fitting in here, obviously, because it is at 90 degrees. So the reason why this one is different is because it sticks straight out. But when you're not running off the remote tank, it's nice and flush. At any rate, this, as I had discussed in the install, is just a little bit loose so that you can spin it to get your hose hooked onto it. So you'll hook your hose on by just pushing it on. Incidentally, my hoses are Yamaha fuel hoses. The reason I use Yamaha fuel hoses instead of aftermarket ones is even in really cold temperatures, they'll stay more flexible. I used to use aftermarket ones in the early days of my kits, and in real cold temperatures, they were very stiff. So I wound up upgrading to the Yamaha. It wound up raising the price of the kit slightly, but I think it's well worth it. So the next step, if you're going to be running it off the remote tank, is to move the fuel selector to the run position. With the fuel selector in the run position, you'll pump the prime bulb 3 or 4 times to pull all the air out of it, because you don't want air in it. If there's air in the hose or anywhere in the system, the generator will start, run for a few minutes, and then stall. So we're going to pump the prime bulb a few times to get the air out of the system. Then to start this particular generator, you move the fuel selector valve all the way to the choke position, and then we'll push the start, and then we'll return this to the run position, or since we're on the remote tank, it goes all the way to the off position. Okay, when you're running it off the remote tank, the fuel selector valve needs to be in the off position. If you're running it off the stock tank, you'll put the fuel selector valve in the run position. If you have any problems remembering it, there is a decal on the top of the generator with the instructions on it. You'll notice step 7 is move the fuel selector valve to the off position. That's not a misprint. In order to run from the remote tank, you will need the fuel selector valve in the off position. At any rate, that's how it is. To shut it off, you just go ahead and hit the off button. Thank you for watching.